insurance. This is Tony Cañas, Chief Motivational Officer at Insurance Nerds and PNC Client Advisor at the Jacobson Group. And I am back from vacation. I've actually been back since Sunday and I immediately went off on a business trip on Monday. So I was visiting clients in New Jersey Monday and Tuesday. And then I got back home Wednesday and it is now Thursday. And first of all, I want to thank Amy for just rocking it while I was gone. Her videos were amazing. Check out the last 5 videos before I came back. But since I came back, I've been posting videos specifically that I had in the archive, that I had made before I left on vacation, because I knew that when I got back, it'd be hard to sit down and do some videos. I didn't expect it to take this long, but finally I'm getting back on the ball and posting videos that are freshly created. Jet lag has been killing me. I was in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia last week, and the jet lag is just awful. My biological clock is crazy. Anyway, so today I want to talk to you about Gen Zers, or iGen, the mobile generation, whatever you want to call them, the generation that comes after my beloved millennials. Millennials are really where my expertise is. I literally wrote the book about millennials in insurance, and I have spoken my presentation on millennials in insurance for several years, and more the question keeps coming up about the next generation, about Gen Z. How is Gen Z similar to millennials? How is Gen Z different to millennials? The biggest thing I need to take away from this is Gen Zers are not millennials. What I mean by that is the kids who are graduating from college today are not millennials. Millennials is not a word for young professionals for the rest of life. We are at the point where millennials, the oldest, are almost 40. The millennials were born between 1980 and 1995, and that depends on the demographer, but those are kind of the average of the years that demographers tend to say. So by quick math, if we are finishing 2019, the oldest millennial is 39 and will be 40 next year. And the youngest Gen Zer, born after 95, is now 24. For the last couple of years, the kids that haven't been graduating college are Gen Zers, not millennials. And if you treat them like millennials, if you think of them as millennials, if you call them millennials, this is not going to go very well, because they are very different. The reason they're different is because of the way they were raised. It always comes down to our childhoods, basically. Millennials were raised by baby boomers during a time of affluence in the 80s and 90s. Gen Zers were raised by Gen Xers, the kids of the Gen Xers, of the skeptical Gen Xers, during a time of recession. Their formative years happened like their high school years happened after the 2009 recession. So while millennials are a little spoiled and they are a mission-driven generation who wants to make a difference and do better for the world while do good for the world while being able to pay our student loans, and we want to do teamwork and we want to be recognized and kumbaya, we're a little bit spoiled because the way we were raised. Gen Zers are very different. Gen Zers are in survival mode. They grew up during they saw their parents being downsized during the recession, losing their homes during the recession. They are in survival mode. They saw their older siblings and friends, millennials, get into student loan debt and then not be able to pay those student loans after you graduated. So Gen Zers have approached life very differently from millennials. They're a little more conservative, or significantly more conservative. They are less interested in teamwork and more about individual accomplishment, because that's the way their Gen X parents raised them to be. They are less focused on teamwork and really it's more about me, what can I do? And also when it comes to their job, to their career, it's all about safety. It's all about security. They are looking for companies that can provide them great careers, great stable careers, okay? So in some ways, Gen Zers are going to be a kind of a breath of fresh air for the insurance industry, because in some ways they're more traditional than millennials and will fit better in our culture. So does this mean that we can just go like, oof, millennials are a lost cause, it's really time to focus on Gen Z, after all, they're a lot easier to deal with? Well, no. Number one, they're a small generation. While millennials are about 83 million, Gen Zers are still being born. We don't really know where the end cutoff is. What we do know is there's not as many of them because they are the sons and daughters of the Gen Xers, and the Gen Xers are a small generation, 25% smaller than the boomers. So there's only like 60 million Gen Zers. I need to look at the exact number, but yeah, it's a smaller generation basically. So there won't be enough of them to keep you from having to use millennials as the boomers retire. Number two is that while they are traditional in some ways they are hyper millennial. And what I mean by that is while Gen Zers are not millennials, they grew up in a world where technology was even more advanced from the world that we grew up in. So they're even more addicted to technology. So for example, I like to make the contrast between myself, born in 1982, and my sister, born in 1998. When I first started speaking about millennials, I thought that my sister was a young millennial. Turns out the newest research classifies her as a Gen Zer, and there's very good reason for that. Her relationship with technology is very different from mine, right? I grew up, I didn't have a cell phone. Well, I had a personal computer since about third grade. I had internet access since about sixth grade, dial-up. And I had a cell phone. I was the only kid in high school that didn't have a cell phone my senior year, but I got my first cell phone my freshman year of college here in the States, and then my first smartphone, an iPhone 3G, my second or third year in the workforce. My sister, in contrast to that, has had high-speed internet her whole life, never dial-up, always broadband, has had an iPhone in her pocket since middle school, an iPad, a laptop, like you name it. She's had incredible access to technology, and she even went to school using an iPad throughout all of middle school and high school. This is just the way life worked for her. Very different from the way it worked for me. And that has specific things that are different about the way she handles life. For example, when I turned driving age, I went to get my driver's license that same day. It was freedom. It was the only way to move around. My sister is, and we grew up in the same city in San Jose, Costa Rica. My sister is now 21, and she still doesn't drive because she can just Uber anywhere, right? Having a car is not an advantage in her point of view. It's a disadvantage. It's a loss of flexibility. It's a having to worry about parking. And my mom keeps asking, how do I get her to learn how to drive? And I keep telling her, you have to limit her Uber budget. And I'm not joking, like truly, she has an unlimited Uber budget. Not all kids do. My sister's very lucky. She has that privilege. It resulted in her at 21 not knowing how to drive. So technology really affects the way that Gen Zers see the world. And also they went to college during a time of budget cuts. And the way that a lot of states handle those budget cuts, a lot of schools handle those budget cuts, was by pushing classes online. So a lot of Gen Zers graduating today in the last couple of years did most of their classes online, or a lot of their, maybe not most, but a lot of their classes online compared to even millennials. And what that means, between technology and schools pushing classes online, they are a generation that where they've always been able to get work done anywhere they are. Work for Gen Zers is a thing, not a place. School is getting your work done, not going to a physical classroom. And that's going to have a major impact on the way they see their careers. Gen Zers, with older millennials, we are happy to do 1 or 2 work from home days a week and be in the office the rest of the time. Gen Zers are not going to understand that. While they understand the value of face-to-face better than millennials, they understand it for strategic work, not for everyday work. So yeah, they'll be happy to come in for training. They'll be happy to come in for team meetings, for team building. They will have no interest in coming in to do their day-to-day job. They just want to understand why they need to. And they're not committed to insurance, so unless they're risk management majors, they will go elsewhere if we don't figure out how to do that. So anyway, I'm running out of time. I'm so sorry, I'm so jet lagged I lost track of time, and I'm sorry if I babble a little here and there, but this is a good intro to who Gen Zers are. And the biggest thing to know right now, there'll be much more about Gen Zers coming up in the future, including a book next year, late next year, hopefully. But basically, the biggest thing you need to know right now is Gen Zers are not millennials. The kids coming in today, fresh out of college, the ones that were born after 95, are not millennials. TC out.